Awami League and BNP to hold rallies at their chosen venues. EC cannot protect neutrality without inclusive polls, says CEC. Gaza health system on the brink. Israeli tanks enter. Those were the headlines. This is ATN News. Good evening, viewers. I'm Riti Prova with English Bulletin. Bangladesh Nationalist Party BNP has called a grand rally in Dhaka on October 28 to realize their one-point demand, the ouster of the government. On the same day, ruling Awami League called a peace rally in the south gate of National Mosque Baitul Mukarram. It has been learnt Awami League is planning to gather 2 people in the peace rally, while BNP is planning to gather 1,15,000 people for its rally. Both the parties have already notified the police they will hold rallies in their chosen venues. City residents are a little bit panic-stricken, thinking what might happen on October 28. However, the director of Rapid Action Battalion's Media and Legal Wing Commander Khondokar Al-Moin said none will be allowed to commit any sort of anarchy. Meanwhile, Chief of Detective Branch of Police Mohammad Haruna Rashid has expressed optimism the Grand Rally of October 28 will be a peaceful one like that previous rallies. Awami League wants peaceful environment before and after polls. However, if anyone launches attack, will face counter-attack. Awami League General Secretary and Minister for Road Transport and Bridges Obaidul Qadir made the remark while replying to a question of the journalists at a press conference at the Setu Bhavan on Wednesday afternoon. The press conference was called to brief the media about the inaugural of Bangabandhu Tunnel on October 28. The Awami League leader said Awami League will not attack BNP's rally. However, the way BNP is talking about resistance, it means they will commit violence. The Awami League General Secretary said holding of peaceful polls possible if environment remains peaceful. There is no foreign pressure over polls. Obaidul Qadir said the US ambassador to Bangladesh has sought time to meet him on October 29. Awami League and BNP are all set to have counter showdowns in the capital on October 28. Ruling Awami League does not want to give any exemption to oppositions. Awami League has held several meetings and views exchange to make the peace rally a success. The central leaders have given different types of directives to leaders and activists. The party apprehends BNP might commit violence centering October 28 program. There will be high alert in Dhaka's gateways. Awami League Central Command has asked leaders and activists to remain prepared counter programs if BNP gives any non-stop programs on October 28. It is not possible for Election Commission to protect neutrality if an inclusive election does not take place. Chief Election Commissioner Qazi Habibul Awal made the remark at a views exchange with the editors of the newspapers and chiefs of the electronic media on Thursday. It took place at the election office in capital's Agargaon. He said the presiding officers have been instructed to leave the polling centres, stopping balloting in case of irregularities. It will be considered as a crime if they do not leave the polling centres. He also called upon the Commission not to echo the voice of the government. Emphasizing gaining people's trust on the Commission, the CEC sought cooperation from all quarters for holding fair polls. The health system in Gaza is on the verge of collapse due to acute shortage of power and fuel supply. Meanwhile, Israeli tanks entered Gaza to carry out targeted raid. Israeli sources, however, confirmed it not the ground offensive they had been talking about, rather a preparation to start the second phase of the war. Noman Mahmudur Rahman brings you more.
All sorts of services in the hospitals of BC's Gaza have stopped except for emergency services. Gaza Health Ministry claimed the health system is on the brink of collapse. Meanwhile, Israel is obstructing entry of new consignment of fuel in Gaza. They also alleged Hamas has stored thousands of liters of fuel. Al Jazeera's journalist Wael al-Daud's wife and 2 children were killed in an Israeli airstrike on a refugee camp in Gaza. Managing Director of Al Jazeera, Mohammed Moadat, has confirmed the news. Along with non-stop airstrike, Israel has taken all-out preparation to start ground offensive in Gaza. The Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, has reiterated such plan.
נברר עד תום מה קרה בגבול הדרום ובעוטף עזה.
Meanwhile, at a joint press conference with Australian Prime Minister, US President Joe Biden said there is no scope to go back to a status quo if attacks and counter-attacks continue in Gaza and Israel.
I continue to be alarmed about extremist settlers attacking Palestinians in the West Bank.
UN Security Council has got divided on condemning indiscriminate strike in Gaza. 2 proposals were placed on Wednesday.
But the grievances of the Palestinian people cannot justify the appalling attacks by Hamas.
However, none of the proposals sailed through due to veto and counter-veto of US and Russia. China and Russia said there was no mention of truce in the draft of the US proposal. Rather, a green signal was given to continue more attack in future.
Why would Israel ask Gazans to return to an active war zone?
Noman Mahmudur Rahman, Desk Report, ATN News.
Now a short break. We will be back soon with Saqib practices in Dhaka for the second day. Cricket fans enraged. Gunman kills 22 in Lewiston of US. You're watching ATN News. This is English Bulletin. There is no scope to go back to the format of post-time caretaker government. There is also no possibility of dialogue over the issue. Law Minister Anisul Haq made the remark while talking to the media at the Secretariat on Thursday. He said, Constitution has been amended as apex court of the country termed caretaker government system as illegal and conflicting to the Constitution in its verdict. So there is no scope to bring back the caretaker system. He, however, assured the polls will be smooth, free, neutral and peaceful. Saying there is no mention about the election time government in the Constitution, the Law Minister said the incumbent government will turn into election time government after the schedule of the election is announced. Now news on ICC Men's World Cup. So far, Sri Lanka have scored 69 for 2 wickets. Tigers keeper Saqib Al Hasan has taken part in the practice session under his coach Nazmul Abidin Fahim in Mirpur for the second day. He came to Mirpur sometimes after 9 a.m. today. He took part in 3-hour indoor training session. It was a closed-door indoor session. Saqib came back to Dhaka on Wednesday. He took part in the first phase of training session on the same day. The supporters got enraged as Saqib came back to Dhaka, leaving his team in the middle of World Cup. However, Saqib wanted to shine his willow by practicing with his coach. He will join the team on October 27. The next day, Tigers will face Netherlands in Eden Gardens. Now news from around the world. At least 22 people have reportedly been killed in the U.S. city of Lewiston, Maine, and a search is underway for the gunman. The shootings began at 6:56 p.m. local time on Wednesday at a bowling alley and a restaurant, police said. Lewiston residents, as well as those in the nearby town of Lisbon, have been told to shelter in place. Police named Robert Card, 40, as a person of interest and said he should be considered armed and dangerous. The authorities have not yet confirmed a death toll, but after speaking to multiple law enforcement officials, the media confirmed the number is at least 22. There have also been multiple but unconfirmed reports of at least 50 people injured. Michael Shawchuk, commissioner in Maine's Department of Public Safety, said there had been multiple casualties. The U.S. House of Representatives elected Republican Mike Johnson, a conservative with little leadership experience, elected as Speaker on Wednesday, ending a turbulent 3 weeks that left the rudderless chamber unable to carry out any of its basic duties. The 220 to 209 party line vote elevated Johnson to the powerful role that has been vacant since Kevin McCarthy was ousted on October 3 by a small group of his fellow Republicans. We want our allies around the world to know that this body of lawmakers is reporting again to our duty stations, Johnson, 51, said shortly after winning the Speaker's gavel. His first act was to call up legislation to signal support for Israel, which has stepped up its bombings of Gaza following a cross-border killing and kidnapping spree by Hamas early this month. Australia has returned to Beijing 3 historical artifacts that were smuggled out of China. Police working at the Australian border had seized the items and referred them to authorities for investigation. The handover comes shortly before Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese's visit to Beijing next month. Today we have witnessed how two nations can work effectively together to return cultural properties to its rightful home. Minister for the Arts Tony Burke said on Wednesday. The items are a fossil of a Hyphalosaurus, a long-necked reptile species that lived in northeastern China between 120 and 133 million years ago. A Tang Dynasty figurine depicting a rider on horseback playing a wind instrument. These figures were placed in tombs to ensure a safe journey to the afterlife. A Tang Dynasty gilt bronze figurine of the Buddhist deity Avalokiteshvara, which was likely an altarpiece. Now sports. Before ending the bulletin, the top stories once again. Awami League and BNP to hold rallies at the chosen venues. EC cannot protect neutrality without inclusive polls, says CEC. Gaza health system on the brink. Israeli tanks enter. Sake practices in Dhaka for the second day. Cricket fans enraged. Gunman kills 22 in Lewiston of US. That's all from the newsroom for the moment. Thank you for being with ATN News.